The Enigma of Lao Tzu. In the quiet archives of ancient China, shrouded by 2.5 millennia of legend and reverence, stands the mysterious figure of Lao Tzu. Meaning old master or old child, his historical existence remains one of humanity's most intriguing paradoxes. Whether he was a single historic archivist named Li Er, or a composite symbol representing generations of Taoist thought, Lao Tzu embodies a timeless voice that quietly reshaped Eastern philosophy and permanently altered how we understand human action, leadership, and harmony. The Royal Archives of Zhou, according to traditional accounts recorded by the grand historian Sima Qian, Lao Tzu served as the keeper of the royal archives in the state of Zhou during the tumultuous 6th century BCE. Positioned at the very heart of imperial records, he spent decades immersed in ancient scrolls, court rituals, and political decrees. This unique position allowed him to witness the grand mechanics of government from the inside, giving him an intimate view of power, statecraft, and human nature. Witnessing the decay of society, as the Eastern Zhou dynasty fractured into social chaos and bitter political intrigue, Lao Tzu observed the devastating consequences of ambition and greed. Rulers engaged in unending wars, tax burdens crushed the peasantry, and ambitious scholars proposed rigid rules and moral doctrines to force order upon a breaking society. Rather than restoring peace, these aggressive interventions seemed to fuel further conflict, demonstrating to Lao Tzu that artificial control only deepens corruption and suffering. The departure to the West, saddened by the decline of civil harmony and disillusioned with the endless power struggles of the court, the aging philosopher chose to abandon his position. Stripping away his titles and worldly belongings, he mounted a water buffalo and set off toward the western frontier, seeking solace in the wild, uninhabited mountains beyond China's central plains. His departure was meant to be a silent retreat into obscurity, leaving behind a civilization that had lost its way. The encounter at Hangu Pass. Upon reaching Hangu Pass, the strategic gate guarding the border of China, Lao Tzu was recognized by a perceptive boundary warden named Yin Shi. Recognizing the profound wisdom of the traveler, the guard refused to let the old master pass into the western wilderness, unless he left behind his teachings for future generations. Recognizing the truth in the guard's request, Lao Tzu paused at the border for 3 days to write down his essential philosophy, the creation of the Tao Te Ching. In those brief 3 days, Lao Tzu penned a concise manuscript composed of 81 short poetic chapters, totaling roughly 5,000 Chinese characters. The Tao Te Ching, the classic of the way, and its virtue. Divided into 2 main sections, the Tao, the eternal principle or path, and the Ti, the active power or virtue, the text presented a radical departure from the formal, rule-bound philosophies of his era, offering instead a profound reflection on the subtle laws governing the universe. The vanishing master, having delivered his written legacy to Yin Shi, Lao Tzu mounted his buffalo once more, passed through the gate, and disappeared into the untamed western mountains. No historical record documents his death, his burial, or his final days, leaving his departure as enigmatic as his origins. By vanishing without seeking fame, wealth, or a formal school of followers, Lao Tzu embodied the very essence of his philosophy, completing his work and quietly stepping back, defining the unnameable Tao. At the core of Lao Tzu's treatise is the concept of the Tao, described as the origin, fundamental nature, and ultimate balance of all existing things. The text famously opens with the declaration that the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao, establishing that absolute truth transcends intellectual definition and linguistic boundaries. The Tao is not a personal deity, but the underlying force that guides the movement of stars, the changing of seasons, and the birth and decay of life. The essence of Wu Wei central to practical Taoist living is the principle of Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or action through non-action. Far from promoting passive laziness or apathy, Wu Wei describes a state of total alignment with natural forces, where one responds fluidly to circumstances rather than forcing outcomes through aggressive willpower. It is the art of achieving maximum results with minimum friction by acting at the exact right moment without ego or self-aggrandizement. The metaphor of water. To illustrate how Wu Wei functions in the real world, Lao Tzu repeatedly turns to the natural element of water. Soft, yielding, and humble, water always flows to the lowest places that others despise, yet it possesses the strength to wear down the hardest rock over time. Water does not contend or fight with obstacles, it simply flows around them, adapting its shape to whatever container it occupies while remaining true to its essential nature. The power of yielding. Lao Tzu radically flipped standard human conceptions of strength and weakness by asserting that flexibility is the defining quality of life, while rigidity is the signature of death. A living tree is green, supple, and bends with strong winds, whereas a dead tree is dry, stiff, and snaps under pressure. By learning to yield, remain flexible, and embrace humility, an individual preserves their core energy and surmounts forces that would destroy a rigid competitor. Taoist leadership and statecraft. Contrary to modern assumptions that ancient philosophy was purely spiritual, much of the Tao Te Ching addresses the art of governance. Lao Tzu advised rulers that the best government is subtle and unobtrusive, leaving citizens free to flourish naturally. When a leader governs with a light touch, avoiding excessive taxation, draconian laws, and unnecessary wars, the people accomplish great things while believing they achieved success entirely on their own. Contrast with Confucian dogma. Lao Tzu's philosophy stood in stark contrast to the emerging doctrines of Confucianism, which emphasized strict moral etiquette, social hierarchy, and external ritual. While Confucians sought to fix society by constructing elaborate rules of conduct, Lao Tzu argued that the need for explicit rules arises only when humanity loses its spontaneous connection to natural virtue. True morality, in the Taoist view, flows naturally from inner alignment rather than enforced societal obligation. Simplicity and contentment. Another cornerstone of Lao Tzu's teaching is Ziran, or natural spontaneity and simplicity. He warned against the endless pursuit of prestige, luxury, and material expansion, noting that hoarding wealth leads directly to anxiety and vulnerability. By cultivating contentment with what one already has, an individual breaks free from external manipulation and achieves an unshakable sense of inner freedom that external riches can never buy. Modern resonances in sports and performance. In the centuries since Lao Tzu's disappearance, his concepts have transcended culture and discipline, finding powerful applications in modern peak performance. Elite athletes, performers, and strategists frequently describe the psychological flow state, where high-level execution occurs without conscious interference or hesitation, as the direct manifestation of Wu Wei. Legendary basketball coach Phil Jackson explicitly integrated Taoist principles to build cohesion and calm focus within championship teams. Taoist thought in business and innovation. The principles of effortless action and adaptive flexibility have also reshaped contemporary approaches to business, creative design, and leadership. Tech visionaries like Steve Jobs drew deeply upon Eastern philosophy to champion radical simplicity, minimalist aesthetics, and intuitive user experiences. By stripping away non-essential elements and allowing product design to align naturally with human behavior, modern leaders echo Lao Tzu's lesson that simplicity yields ultimate power. Psychological relevance for the modern world. In an era characterized by relentless activity, overstimulation, and chronic anxiety, Lao Tzu's perspective offers a vital counterweight to modern burnout. The constant impulse to control every variable and force progress often produces friction, exhaustion, and failure. Rediscovering the practice of stepping back, trusting natural timing, and observing without immediate judgment provides a grounded blueprint for mental resilience in a chaotic, fast-paced world. The enduring legacy of the old master. 2.5 millennia after a lonely archivist rode his water buffalo past the edge of the known world, Lao Tzu's voice continues to echo through human history. His enduring legacy lives not in massive monuments or rigid dogmas, but in a quiet, revolutionary reminder that true strength lies in softness, true wisdom lies in simplicity, and the most powerful action is often knowing when to yield and let life unfold